Both these villains in Lone Survivor were defeated. And that could have left a power gap. We already have an NPC in concept based on, being the assistant or an assistant to this character. And I'm sure there's fallout from the main BBEG of Lone Survivor here. So, let's take this content now. And let's make a new villain for a new Ravnica campaign. It's going to begin in Chapter 3 of your DMG, if you have it, so go ahead and open up. Because we're going to determine our adventure villain on page 74. And by the way, you know what really works well? About being presumed to have stolen something from an Orzhov spirit? Our NPC in our first Ravnica game had a very precious bauble. And so that's where this could have come in. Again, we're secretly, play testers and researchers for Wizards of the Coast here for D&D content, right? Okay. Who is our adventure villain going to be? Let's go back to our random dice roller here. Reset. We're going to say adventure main villain. Oh, actually, before we... There we go. And this will be adventure sub-villain. Roll a d20. 10. A humanoid cultist. Now, I don't really have a sentence yet for supporting this, because I think we'll get some ideas, and then we can go through and generate them afterwards. Now, the cultist could very well be this Lich that we were talking about inside the Golgari itself, who will be sort of the main villain in all this. To that end, we could even make it a Circle of Spores Druid, who is kind of a Lich also. So we have a humanoid cultist. Now, we're going to skip ahead. And by the way, there's all sorts of awesome content. Event-based villain actions. Now, we could even put this here. What's the plan? Right? The villain's plan comes to fruition during a festival, an astrological event, or whatever. The villain commits acts to become bolder and more heinous over time. Serial crimes, step by step. There's so much good prompting here for you. If you're ever stuck as a DM, please get your DMG out and just go through it. And let random rolls guide you. It will work together, I promise you. Villains, you can run a no-villain campaign. We did that. We made a no-villain campaign here. Many villains. Different framing events for an event to occur. Coronation, council meeting, new moon, new year. Plot twists. Side quests. Hey, look at there. A Medusa turning someone to stone. How apropos. Diadems, that's the only reason I got the 5e DMG for the random charts for character creation. It's excellent for all kinds of storytelling, regardless of system, edition, theme. Again, you could make a sci-fi plot using the DMG. You could make a sci-fi plot for a Star Wars RPG out of the D&D DMG. Can you get the DMG? Well, there are ways that you can. I mean, D&D Beyond might have some resources for you. If you're adventurous and look in certain places, you might be able to find it. You can purchase it on D&D Beyond as well. So it would be up to you to try and find something along those lines, Rhodium. Because the best advice I can give you is make sure you pick up a copy for yourself. And have it handy. And I understand maybe access to books or game stores or whatnot is limited for some folks. So ask around and see what you can find. Indeed, if you use hyperlanes, you can run a sci-fi game using 5e rules. And those charts require only a bit of an adaptation for it. All right. Continuing on. We'll come back to non-player characters. But first, villains. All right. What is our villain scheme going to be? Now, we know that one of our villainous considerations was this Lich that wants to turn 2 of the PCs also into Liches. For what reason? What will it do? Maybe that's only a front. Let's roll and find out what our scheme is going to be. D8. We rolled a 1 and then a D4. 3. Immortality. Become undead or obtain a younger body. Wow, I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, this writes itself. I seriously cannot espouse how awesome just doing random generation can be. Yeah, you can reflavor it like that, Rhodey. I pity the Medusa vampire. Huh. What's our villain's methods? Well, let's roll a d20. 14. Ooh, politics. And a d6. 2. Conspiracy. What? Politics in Ravnica? Pshaw. What is our villain's weakness? 3. The villain is weakened in the presence of a particular artifact. What's the artifact? We don't know. Doesn't matter right now. We want prompts. We want scaffolding, or like we want a structure. And then we'll build a frame, put up the drywall, paint it however you want it to look like, and then, put up art on your wall. Step by step, we'll build it up and we'll make it look like how we want it to look. Pneumonica had a medicine that turned people to salt and then sold the salt in the open market. Oh, wow. Huh. All right. Now that we have some core tenets for our villain, right? By their actions, villains provide job security for heroes. Chapter 3 helps you to determine suitable villains for your adventures, while this section helps you flesh out their evil schemes, methods, and weaknesses. Let the tables following inspire you. And we've done that. Now, let's go back to creating NPCs. Whoop. Here we are. Occupation and history. Well, if we know the basis for this villain, a Lich within the Golgari swarm is facing his end, which is cultural. They do make undead. Undead are revered as part of the process of life and death. It is offensive, you know, to Golgari, or especially those druids, those Spore Druids, if you seek to unnaturally prevent your end, even as an undead. And is seeking suitable vessels which will perpetuate him or her into another unlifetime. An appearance. Ooh. It says humanoid cultist. This could actually be a leader of a circle of spores druid circle. And here you have the leader who's kind of hypocritically going against his or her own edicts on the cycle, and is seeking to somehow undermine or manipulate or break what was taught in order to continue on. I love it. I love it. Let's go with it. Nice, nice, nice. All right, appearance. Let's roll a d20. 17. Another distinctive nose. Oh. 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 Do you know how to make a homunculus? You know what you need? Dun, 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 dun. Roles and reference, exclamation point, spell, homunculus. Thank you, Evray. You can do this too, by the way, on our Discord. Clay Ash Mandrake Root and Jewel-encrusted dagger. While speaking an intricate incantation, you cut yourself with a jewel-encrusted dagger. You then drip your blood onto the spell's other components and touch them, transforming them into a special construct named a homunculus. What if we have a homunculus born from the villain, so he has a powerful enemy, right? Because he's apparently betrayed his master and is laying low in the Azorius Senate. Right? Something happened in the spell, and it kind of became autonomous. What if the villain is weakened in the presence of the homunculus because the homunculus was made from his own blood? But the homunculus is too cowardly to ever go back. Wouldn't that be interesting? Rhodey. Well, I understand the Rakdos reference, DJ. Again, look, we're opening ourselves up to randomness. Randomness happens, and you know what? It's telling us that this needs to occur. Isn't it beautiful how this is working out? Abilities. 6 and 6. Well, I suppose his high ability and his low ability can't both be the same thing. So I'm going to re-roll one of the 6s. The second one. What's his weakness? Or his low? 5. High charisma. Low wisdom. Interesting. So, we can still make him a druid. Druids don't have to have maximum wisdom. But perhaps it's affected him in some other way. Or he chooses different sets of spells to use. But much like his homunculus, he's very charismatic and gets other people to do things for him as kind of this cult leader of this circle of Spores Druids. Yeah, Roxy. If the PCs discover, if they make this connection with the homunculus, they might be able to bolster or drag kicking and screaming the homunculus over in order to help solve the situation. But, the homunculus's bond to the Medusa might be breaking that innate connection that the druid would have in making the homunculus, if he's even a druid at all. Because what if he's just pretending? He could be a wizard, just pretending that he's a druid and casting spells in some similar fashion. Homunculus! Dorak the Merciless, thank you very much for the re-up of your subscription. You know you're always welcome here, and I love your humor and when you drop by. So, little tortilla chip cheers to you, Dorak. And this is not to be confused with a Homunculus, I guess. It's just some sort of, I guess, a construct made out of, like a golem made out of hummus instead of clay or something. Dip that. Oh, Dorak, I just ran out of salsa. So it's just salted chips, but if it means anything, the salt could have been people. Pneumatica was just talking about having a Medusa that would turn people to salt, and then the Medusa would harvest the salt and sell it to other people. Unsub no dips, but I have proof. I have proof of dips. Here. There's the last little bit left. Dorak. I'm scraping here for you, bud. Here we are. Yep, it is invisible. I like that. All right, what's his talent? Let's roll a d20. 11. Ooh. Paints beautifully. High charisma. Maybe you channel that through performance of some kind. Kind of, sort of, yes. Dorak. Paints beautifully. I guess we don't really know if it's a his or her yet here. Often paints his or her desires and uses the paintings which are magically imbued to help control the spore cult being operated as a means to continue the Lich's existence. He could multi-class, or he could just be a charlatan of some kind. Could be a warlock. I know they cast off of charisma. So, high charisma. Hey, Plunder, welcome. Oh, yeah. Mr. Plunderloot, you got to open up the package with all your minis. You liked your surprise. For those of you who are wondering, Mr. Plunderloot received a very large package full of miniatures that he had built up over time, and I'm very happy that you received them. Cross, Fairy Blood as a sort of an infusion in order to preserve the Lich's existence. Dorak, it was pretty girthy. Minnerism. D20. 10. Uses colorful oaths and exclamations. Perhaps somewhat related to painting, but also very verbal about commanding others with these foul utterances. I think that's a magic card, foul utterance. Still shocked there be that gold dragon in there. Dorak, look at that emote. Colorful oats are fruity pebbles. Oh, very good observation. How does our villain interact with others? D12. 11. Ooh, quiet. So, maybe speaks quietly. Think kind of like Raceland Majir from Dragonlance. Not that he doesn't speak. Maybe just very quiet. As a Lich, I don't know. That could even be a clue. Maybe there's something that that the Lich stores in its throat that is suppressing its voice, so it can only speak quietly. And maybe that's also why our Lich is very good at painting beautifully, as a loud, bright expression. Otherwise, maybe the Lich can't speak, and so any sort of colorful oaths and exclamations is delivered psychically. You know, this person will claim to speak through the spores, right? If he's pretending to be a Circle of Spores Druid. But what if it's a Warlock addressing a Patron and is using like the Gulag power of psychic manipulation? That could be interesting. And remember, in the theme of Ravnica, Gulags serve Nephilim. The Nephilim of Ravnica. Can't physically speak, but expresses him or herself loudly through art and telepathic spores means. Lady Castellanter lost her head along the journey, but I will just get a replacement and make it Tatiana painting practice. And I'm not worried about it. Need to practice anyways. They do sell heads that I can replace it for very cheap. You know what? So we had a beheaded Lady Castellanter as well, Plunder Loot. I wonder if that wasn't something, if that's not a mechanical issue or a production issue. Her head, I would imagine, was sent along, so make sure you check in any little baggies or the like, Plunder Loot. So check in there for that. But it should just take a drop of glue to pop back in. Though I appreciate you saying that, because that could be bringing up a very good point about the manufacturing process. Dorak, yes, I have. I hope so, given my career. I don't actively play. A good dealer doesn't use their own product. I'm just kidding. But yes, I have played Magic. And I've read all the novels. Hashtag humble brag. Useful knowledge. So we have Eldritch knowledge of the Nephilim of Ravnica, as well as other forbidden or otherwise taboo pieces of information and contacts, both on and off the plane. I did. I think it fell along the journey. No such luck, but I found a set of 5 heads for roughly $5. Well, Mr. Plunderloot, I'm sorry that had happened. Did your package arrive all right, or was it beat up? Is that something on my end that it wasn't packed sufficiently? Or is this a mechanical issue with the miniature itself, do you think? Because if I need to rectify a shipment, let me know. I'm not just shipping you out, you or the others who give the miniatures here homes. I'm not just shipping y'all junk. And I want to make good on it. With the mini? Okay. Well, because look, we opened up that one box on stream that had Daly's Headless Lady Castellanter. Ideals. Let's roll our 3d6. Odds, so left column, good ideal, and number 3. A greater good. Oh, this is awesome for a villain. Villains with greater good can be very compelling. I am the gatekeeper, holding back a Nephilim incursion. If I die, Ravnica will also. I must live in order to protect everyone on this plane. Even if it means manipulating my druids and violating the circle's order. Or even the guild, I guess the laws of the guilds themselves. He or she honestly thinks, remember, this is a cult leader, I am the one holding back the Nephilim. I am entitled or empowered to violate laws because I'm saving everyone by keeping myself alive. Oh, hey! Nerdalopedia, welcome. Verbane, hello, hello. Ico Girl, hi. Dorak is giving away. Tarn, hello. Gareth, hello to you. We're making some Ravnica villains for our campaign we're going to be designing tomorrow. And these NPCs we made before and villains now are organic to the setting and to this special... pardon, I bit my tongue. To the special characters that we were manufacturing earlier in the week. And you know what? I wore it on Tuesday for our roleplay session, but I ordered the shirt, I don't have a spell for this, off of the Nerdalopedia store. And so I was rocking it on Tuesday when I was DMing our campaign. So greetings to all of you from Nerdalopedia and welcome. You know you are always welcome here. We're having a workshop. If you want to get comfy, get a snack, listen to it in the background, you're welcome to do so. Yep, I don't have the shirt around because I think it might be in the laundry or something, but I was rocking it. So for Verbane, what's going on tonight? We have made we're exploring the Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica. Yeah, Gareth, I wore the shirt on Tuesday. When the Unearthed Arcana came out, we made 2 characters using it. And then we made an entire campaign around them called Lone Survivor, Loan. It was about the Orzhov, as you might imagine if you're familiar with magic and such. Now that the official book is out, we're going to continue that story, like sort of story part 2 or a sequel to it. So we're going back to the notes for that campaign. We're adding in 3 PCs to make a 5-person party. And now we're connecting the old concepts and the villains and the NPCs we made with new ones. And tomorrow we're going to culminate all of this into another Ravnica campaign. And as always, all of this is going to end up on our Discord, so you can download it, you could play through it, you could tweak it here and there. You could just take it as a workshop lesson, however you'd like. Hey, XCat. Twist for the cult leader, they actually are holding off an end of the world scenario. That could very well be. I mean, we may have a raving madman, but that doesn't mean that a raving madman can't also be true. You know, what would be the end? The PCs are here. They have a decision. They can put down this cult leader. In which case, will the prophecy come true? Whether they know it or not. Or will they show this person mercy and just, I don't know, have them locked up somewhere? Possibly to escape later. All right, our bond. Roll a d10. We get a 10. Roll twice, ignoring the result of 10. 9 and 2. 9 is out for revenge. And protective of close family members. Okay. So probably bonded to the cult, who he may consider his family members to be. Or rather, maybe the spore creations that they were turned into. Because Circle of Spore Druids can summon undead. And so he still has his family with him as these undead servants, perhaps. Out for revenge. Okay. So this would have been maybe why he sought a pact with the Great Old One, or is it themed in Ravnica, the Nephilim? Out for revenge. So what would have happened here? And he'd end up with the Golgari. If he has beef with the Azorius, that would really bring in one of our PCs and one of our major NPCs. The Azorius Senate ruled against a claim by his family about their estate, allowing it to be sold to the Orzhov Syndicate to repay a debt. Oh! So the family might be undead, but not Golgari Spore undead. Rather, they were indentured spirits to the Orzhovs. When his parents and older generations died, they became indentured to the church, vowing revenge. The now Golgari Lich approached undeath differently and sought power deep beneath the city, whereupon she or he discovered a link to awaken a bond to the Nephilim, Great Old Ones. Ta-da! I think this works very well. And now our villain's flaw or secret beyond the weakness. Roll a d12. 1. Has a forbidden love or susceptibility to romance. Twist for the cult leader, they actually are... I'm sorry, that's what you had put out there, XCat says. A forbidden love or susceptibility to romance. Okay. All right. We got this. This could have happened a long time ago. We made a Vidalcan PC that was ancient. She was near like the extreme or almost over the extreme end of life cycle for a Vidalcan. And because she was Golgari, we said that it was probably she was being sustained by the spores and other magics that the Golgari were giving her in exchange for her service. If he's the villain, as well as the rival to the 2 Golgari we randomly generated, he would want to turn her also into a Lich. He bears a love for Allah. It was Allah, if I recall. Allah Ra. That's right. Our Vidalcan sorcerer, our wild magic sorcerer, berserker, barbarian that we generated. Forbidden lover, susceptibility to romance. He bears a love for Allah, which has led him to choose her. Well, I guess we can't say he. We haven't really determined if the Lich is a he or a she yet, but we'll just do that. Bears a love for Allah, which has led him or her to choose Allah to become the next vessel for lichdom, all the while taking out a rival in the swarm in the face of, or not in the person of Jeremy. The Lich is Allah's rival because she constantly tests the Vidalcan to make her stronger and comes across as an antagonist despite the desire in the Lich's very soul to be supernaturally close and bonded with her. Hello! We did it! Check that out. How is that, huh? Is that cool? Everything works. Everything is organic. We now have a compelling villain that is here to perform something that is, evil. It's selfish, right? But it makes sense. This Lich doesn't, well, I'd say wake up, but this Lich just doesn't arise and say, yes, I'm evil. I'm going to do the evil things. There's passion. There's concern even for other people. There's a tremendous amount of manipulation and selfishness. There's a sense of the occult, all instilled inside of this. Here's our villain. I think it's a good one. I think we have something. I'm very happy with this. I'm very happy. So this villain is representative of the greater story we're going to be constructing tomorrow on our stream. What I want to do now, we've gone through the motions of making a very detailed villain. The other villain I want to create, it'll go a little bit more quickly. Not that it's not going to be a detailed villain, but because this is going to be a bit of a sub-boss. It'll be a hindrance to overcome. It could be even a red herring. It could be something along those lines. Let's go to our... No, this is our NPCs. So when we examined our new PCs, we were able to scrape out 2 PCs by seeing the similarities between the backgrounds of our group. Well, Lich Recruiter. Remember, this is all randomly rolled. So here, this rival is going to be one of the BBGs. What else could we come up with that could be a rival or a villain? And you know what? I don't even know if we have to go through a lot of different steps based on everything that we have. There's a couple other... I mean, there's loose ends. Who's this identical twin of Allah? Right? We don't have that statted. We didn't really talk about it. Who is this? Is it? That was an assistant to the former lab leader of our previous campaign. What about this judge's page? Well, that's an ally. But you know what? We have an NPC that I described earlier as sort of like a Zenigata to the gang of Lupin III. We have Tariff, who is this paladin in the Boros. He's a reformed Rakdos gang member who is now serving the side of justice. He already has links and kind of has, is kind of a foil to our original 2 characters of Winifred and Byra. And came up as a rival to Dreadars, or to Dreadar, our Minotaur, Azorius, Judge Dredd, effectively. And so, while not a villain himself, from Rakdos to Boros. So, he was in the Rakdos gang as a youth. He lost some fingers. Actually, if we go up to it here, this was what we generated for him, right? Boros Wojek, who has been tracking the PCs to frustrating ends of legal maneuvering, physical fatigue, and emotional drain, yet never more of a threat other than things happening in this block. NPC appearance, missing fingers, lost in a Rakdos initiation or punishment or both. Wears simple prosthetic to help him hold weapons. High wisdom, low intelligence. Learned a lot from the streets, has common sense, however is not very well versed with books, and is passively literate. Expert dart thrower and rock skipper. Learned how to provoke a fight at a distance or otherwise throw a brick into a store window or a flaming bottle of alcohol at the police. Might make for a proficiency with the hand crossbow. Mannerism, he chews something. Constantly chews a mild stimulant he was addicted to since his gang days and spits frequently, though now more politely. He's blustering. He wants to say so much at one time, so often it can seem as a rambling jumble of words and noises, only made less understandable by his Minotaur mouth. He doesn't remember it, but when he was in his youth in the cult, he was privy to some info about the Orzovs. He won't or can't remember it unless a particular prompt is offered by the PCs. His ideal is neutrality. He's seen the damages that conflict can have on people and property and wishes to avoid more of it if it can be helped, which is also why he can straddle the line between Wojek and letting the PCs get away with their protection racket. Because remember, our PCs in our original Lone Survivor, LOAN, Orzhov, they're neutral evil as we randomly generated them. They're anti-heroes. They are the Thunderbolts. They are the Suicide Squad. They're running a protection racket so that they get paid money. They're guildless, okay? But that's also why they wanted to step up and help their neighborhood from withstanding a merciless eviction, as per the spell that the Orzovs were planning on their poor neighborhood because people weren't paying their debts. You can look up merciless eviction if you want. Bond. Protective of close family members, having no family left that he knows of due to his past cult activities, he keeps friends and others he knows on the block close under his observation and protection. And his flaw or secret, overpowering greed. He hopes to be able to take over the block through his machinations and step into the power vacuum left behind after his plans go through. He will be the benevolent dictator, right? And that campaign had ended. And you know what? He probably did get a promotion. A lot more pressure. Here we have a Boros cop that's rival to an Azorius cop who is already chasing after our two anti-heroes. And by the way, the party we generated, remember, these are randomly generated, but let's work with what we have. Neutral evil, true neutral, lawful evil, lawful evil. They have a goal of wanting to save Ravnica. They're just going to serve themselves and their guild in the process. So they're still bound together, but they have very fiercely individual reasons for this. And so I think we don't need to go through a bunch of these other steps. We've already done so. Here we have our NPC from last time who is going to show up periodically over the course of the adventure and chase or otherwise harass or shake down our party. You know, he'll come across as kind of like Steiner from Final Fantasy IX, if you're familiar. And so you'll fight him several times over the course of the campaign because he'll try and get the drop on you. He's going to try and catch you. He has a big reputation, right? He got this promotion. Maybe he got married and has a calf on the way, if that's what Minotaurs call their little baboos. And so he needs to step in. He's feeling pressure from the Boros Legion, you know, to continue to keep the peace, even though these two ladies here are still running their protection racket. But I think we actually have our sub-villain, who is an NPC, but also an antagonist. Someone who will show up and will fight them and even bring other people from the Boros Legion along. And it makes sense, too, because Lone Survivor could very well have taken place, you know, in low levels. You know, you're just getting going. I think we even said it was like 5 to 10 or something like that when we were designing it. Well, now everyone's level 10, level 11, and they're only going to continue to grow up and get more powerful. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to say that by doing this sort of planning, step by step, night by night, roll by roll, we are really defining an area of Ravnica. We're giving it a culture. We're giving it a population. We're giving it people, not just NPCs or, you know, sort of blank gray, you know, anime background characters. We're stringing our stories together so that the results of one carry forward into number 2. And that could carry over into number 3. Wherever that would take us. And maybe we'd have to make an epic level adventure, just 17 through 20. Right? Isn't that something? It's all right here. And we didn't really have to go out of our way. We didn't have to antagonize at a keyboard. We didn't have to... we didn't even have to be fully aware of the setting necessarily. Remember, our original campaign was built off of an Unearthed Arcana release. And some like, you know, basic knowledge that some of us had as Magic players or... otherwise, you know, I think we consulted the Wikipedia for some references as well. There's always that one clown. Well, look, Pneumonica, she's true neutral. She is a Vidalcan who get bonuses to intelligence and wisdom, who is a sorcerer, a charisma caster, and a barbarian who is a strength and con, but can also use dex. And so, and she's like kind of at a supernatural end of her life. And so she's just been through so much that her body has been honed and balanced and tweaked that she is just this, when she rages, she keeps a straight face, which is even more intimidating because you know she's seething. And you have this old woman who will just go ham on you. We have an awesome, compelling party We have a previous story upon which we build, and now we're hooking into and bringing forward in the new one. We have NPCs and we have villains. I mean, shy of maybe whipping up a dungeon that we can include, which is easy enough to do. You can take several steps up here to make a dungeon. I hope you feel empowered. I hope you feel amazing that you are capable of doing this. You don't have to have run D&D for 20 years in order to do this. You don't need to have a vast personal library of fiction and nonfiction in order to do this. Open yourself up to ideas, whether they're through random rolls or they're through other people who have other observations that can very well be better than the ones that you put out there, right? And look at what we've done. I mean, beyond putting the details of the story out there, we've told a story. There's a huge prompt that you're probably out there imagining, or can, if you're not. It's pretty cool. You know what, then? Why don't we quickly whip up a dungeon? We have our villain. We know his compulsions. We know this. So, I'll show you real quick. All right, our first one was an Is It Boiler Works. We rolled up a location, an exotic location, who is the dungeon creator, and we were going through, who was running this operation and going through all this. And so why don't we just create a dungeon real quick? Because it's not going to be that hard conceptually. Now, to draw it out and to, do all the traps and everything, that can take time, but it's not difficult. Traps in 5th edition take up like 2-3 pages of the DMG. And of that, the core of anything you need is a little text box. A little pink text box. That's all you need to make any trap in D&D. Wonderdrift, I'm not going to be creating it in artistically. I'm going to be creating it conceptually. All right. That was talking about that. Let me find the particular area that I wanted to go. All sorts of content in here for you to consider when you're creating a campaign. Assault or invasion, invading forces, extinction or depletion. I would normally have this up already for you, but we're kind of doing this impromptu. All right. Well, you know what? We're going to start with our dungeon goals here. Dungeon goals. 2. Foil a villain's evil scheme. It works, doesn't it? That could be the main villain, or it may not be an evil scheme because it's technically a policeman of the law chasing after us. But to foil, being arrested, and we're having to go through a warehouse or a sewer or something along those lines in order to do so. All right. There's our goal. And let's give a sub-goal of 7. Escape from a jail or a prison camp. All right. We know what's going to happen in the in the dungeon or sometime in the campaign, huh? Looks like we're going to get arrested. NPCs, hirelings. Here we go. Dungeon location. Roll a percentile. 75. In several connected mesas. Now we'll have to turn that into what that would exist on Ravnica as, though. So the party might be split into several different cell blocks or something along those lines, or the prison might span a couple different areas here. D&D time. Thank you very much for the host. And the maces, or whatever, are going to be set in an exotic location of 1. Oh. Among the branches of a tree. So maybe instead of maces, several connected branches. Use it as inspiration. We don't have to take everything literally. So here we go. Dungeons, building a dungeon. Our dungeon creator. D20. 17 is a Lich. Okay. Okay. It works. We can make this work. We have Liches. Let's see. So we can say that it is run by D20. 16, worshippers of a good deity. That still works. We got this. The leader is going to be Chaotic Good. Warlock. Oh my goodness. Ooh, my goodness. This could be very, very interesting. As we were saying that our Circle of Spores Druid might actually be a Gulock, who's a Lich. Now, I mean, a Lich could have created the prison that's now used by, like, the Celestia or something. And so that this Lich has an Archfey pact with Trostani. You know, the Dryads. The purpose is 3, a lair. So it's a prison, right? Or there's a prison involved. The lair of what? This could be interesting. Very interesting. A lair is a place where monsters live. Typical lairs include ruins and caves. And the history of the dungeon. 16. Location cursed by the gods and shunned. Interesting. And shunned. How can we make this work? So, the villain worships the Nephilim of Ravnica. And so this could have been some Nephilim site that has been... that something has happened, like when the Nephilim left Ravnica, quote unquote, right? This place, it still bore all of the, you know, the seals and everything. Worshippers of a good deity. So maybe the Celestia came in and sort of redecorated the place. But this is a place of power for those who do worship the Nephilim. I think this can work out really well. In the branch of a tree, so definitely a Celestia style. I mean, they're very civic, right? It's created by a Lich. And we have a Lich Warlock just sort of moonlighting as a circle of Spores Druid. So Liches could be a part of the Nephilim as they're touched by them. And it's currently run by good people. So it's a prison, you know, that they want to reform. So maybe it's a reformatory, not really a jail or a prison per se. Maybe not for like hardened criminals. But the leader is a warlock. I kind of like with the Archfey, though. The Archfey have kind of moved in over the Nephilim and have sort of, you know, remarked their territory. And you know what, Doric? I just noticed, you said, who's your favorite guild flavor-wise? That's very difficult to say, because probably the Orzhov. I tend to be very business-minded, so maybe I have a bias. But Doric, probably the Orzhov. Dungeon inhabitants, so it's having us think who lives here. Are there factions? Dominated by a single group of intelligent humanoids. It has us thinking about the ecology, encounter difficulty, how to go about mapping a dungeon here, right? Think about the features such as walls, doors, and the like. We're not going to map it out or put in like hazards and stuff, but it's all here. Around page 100 is when it starts. But this is our prompt. At some point in time, I guess our PCs might be captured actually by our sub-villain of our Boros Reckoner here. And are going to be taken to a Celestia reformatory. And it's here. Maybe the villain wants to reclaim it for the Nephilim that he serves. And so in the midst of this sort of Warlock versus Warlock battle, a prison break can occur, but the prisoners could be taken down by forces of either side. And so this is a dungeon that promotes stealth, or, you know, quick submission or some other kind of subdual, subdual damage, subduing people. And ultimately the warden here is this other warlock. And you can use this as a DM if you show that this Warlock has certain abilities that they then see this Druid use, because we'll have plenty of opportunities throughout the campaign to show off what the Druids traditionally do. But suddenly they see the leader of the Druids casting like a Warlock or a spell or something along those lines. Wait a minute, something's not right here. What's going on? How deep does this go? Maybe this explains why there was such a I don't know, a conflict, something that's brewing. If we even want to foil the villain's evil scheme, that could be to prevent this place from actually being overrun by mold or undead or something along those lines. So they may have been chased down, and they were fought by the sub-villain, but in this case they might actually be working against the villain, but even have to fight their Boros Reckoner, Zenigata, Inspector Zenigata version in the confines of this prison escape. Maybe even try and win him to their side, saying, look, we're not the bad guys here. We're not doing this. You want to pinch us for running a protection racket? That's fine. Look at all the people getting slaughtered. Can we not work together right now? I like this. This is really compelling. It works. It works. It works. All right. Well, you know what? I think I'm repeating myself a lot, and I don't want to do that. So if you have any other questions or observations, you want to throw out an idea, you're welcome to do so. Otherwise, why don't we go find someone to raid? I like trying to raid people who are a part of our community. So if I see you streaming, if you've come in, you said hi, and we've made an established contact. If I can help support your channel, I'd love to do so. It looks like we have a couple people who are raiding here, or not raiding. A couple people are playing right now. It's been a little bit. So we hosted iTyrant Games last night, and it looks like they are that iTyrant is playing Stellaris right now. So you're welcome if you want to stay in a role playing mood, go visit iTyrant Games. Well, we're not going to give a direct raid. You can say, hey, Maddie said that you were playing. I want to come over and see what Stellaris is all about. Let's go raid Cameron. Cameron's been hanging out with us for a while as a relative newcomer to D&D, has learned a lot, and has been broadcasting his own D&D adventures here lately too. And so he's playing some, he's, speaking of hunting zombies, he's hunting zombies right now. But let's go give him some support. He comes by, he's a nice dude, very easygoing, and let's say hi back to him, since he's come and brought people over to our channel before. And you know what we're going to do tomorrow? We are going to make a campaign around all of this stuff that we have just, around all of this stuff that we have generated this week. Our PCs, all the consideration of the setting itself. Hey, Bunny Love, welcome. Oh, we're just getting a raid going here. I'm just winding down for the evening. But thank you for coming in and giving us a wave. That's really, really nice of you to do. So if you're back here tomorrow, 11 p.m. Eastern, we're going to make Ravnica, our second Ravnica campaign off the heels of our first. It should be really exciting. So let's go say hi to Cameron. Let's wish him well in his zombie hunting. And I hope you all have an amazing Friday evening going into Saturday. And if you play Pokemon Go, hey, play Pokemon Go tomorrow. There's some cool stuff that's going to be happening. So be well, everyone. Peace to you.